2. We're in.
Hey, we're back. How are we doing? Welcome to the Legion Report podcast for our. We're going to do a 3-episode special. So, obviously, we last finished with our nutrition with Laura Kelly, and we did sort of put out that we're going to start doing a few more with some gym owners and some other bits around our fitness, exercise, nutrition. But unfortunately, due to like most things, due to COVID and life and logistics, just didn't quite work out. And rather than try and force the situation, we decided just to ease off until we were ready, with good timing. And now, obviously, going into lockdown 3, we felt that it was probably a good opportunity for us to get back in and get back together and get to see Ray's face once every week again, which is brilliant. So yeah, welcome to season 3, episode 1 of the Legion Report podcast. I'm Danny Hayter.
I'm Ray Farrow. Yeah, like Danny said, it was a shame that we couldn't carry it on, but life gets in the way sometimes, and we want to put this out there to help people. If we're struggling to get it in, it might come across on the podcast. We don't want that. We want people to enjoy it. So we're back. We've got 3 episodes. We really want to get out there and help people during this lockdown period. And our big one today is motivation and what it's about and what it is, because it is misleading, I think. Motivation. I think a lot of people think that's the ultimate goal. You need motivation to train. Probably 90% of the time, we haven't got that. All right? Most people haven't got it. It's much bigger than that. If we look at motivation, if we look at it properly, then it's really only just the spark that gets the fire going, gets the flames up. It's things like habits, routine that's going to keep that fire burning and get us, moving more, really. What would you say on that side of things, Dan?
Yeah, so you make a good point there. I think what you've got with motivation is that it's almost like the motivation is the tip of the iceberg, but all the bits underneath that build that motivation up, whether it comes from an intrinsic motivation or an extrinsic motivation, there's a lot of work that goes behind that. So I mentioned there intrinsic and extrinsic, and I think it's a sort of a hard thing to explain. So an intrinsic motivation is something that's inside of you to do something. So you've got, usually it's something to do with, especially when it comes to the fitness world, it might be a challenge. So for example, you might want to run a marathon. So you've got that motivation inside that you've got to complete that marathon. So it comes from inside of you to go, right, I need to go and do this, for example, this training run that's going to allow me to complete that marathon. It's almost like a roadmap to a goal, and we'll get on to goals in a minute. And then an extrinsic motivation is almost like someone sort of shouting at you to do something. So if you're at work, right, I need you to go and do that, and you go, okay, well, if I have to. You still go and complete it. So you complete the task, although your motivation to go and complete that task has come from a slightly different avenue. So we've spoke about, on a couple of occasions in the past around things like our transformation course, which is a really big thing that we do at the gym. And what I see, coaching now for 4.5 years, motivation has come from different areas and different avenues from different people. And what I find with certainly coaching new people is that they have that sort of extrinsic motivation to start with, and that is that they sort of, when they get inside the gym, it's like, oh God, I've got to do this. Oh, I need to go and do that. Oh, I better go. And then as that builds over a period of time, the intrinsic side comes out. They go, well, actually, if I want to get to this, for example, it might be a target weight, whether you want to put on some weight or you want to reduce some weight. You have that target, and I think that that's where sort of things start to change a little bit, because you have targets and things you have to get to. Quick question, actually. So you recently put up a very interesting post around the motivation that you were given, or let's say not given, which is a really interesting point in a minute,
Oh yeah.
about joining the parachute regiment, and some of the messages that you got that really signaled some good motivation for you. So can you just talk us through those quickly, and talk us through maybe even just that post, because I think
Yeah.
that was quite
Okay.
powerful.
So what sparked it off really is I got a couple of online clients, remote clients, jump on board recently who wanted to join the paras, but everyone had told them it was not possible, and they had to, aim a little bit lower for maybe another infantry. That was probably more possible for them to get in, and it just made me think back to when I went for it, and how from when I went into the recruitment office, when they give me the pamphlet, and sort of like it was like maybe you should try something else, to actually going back and speaking to my parents and anyone else I mentioned it to. Everyone, not one person said I could do it. Okay, and that's what was happened to these guys. They were told it was too hard for them, and yeah, it is hard. It's the elite in the British Army. It's the hardest one to go into. Okay, so yeah, it is hard, and like I said, everyone told me I couldn't do it, and I wasn't fit at the time. I had asthma, so I used to struggle with fitness. Um, I struggled with what people would say motivation to get myself up running every day, or maybe run once or twice a week, because it could be. I was just a teenager who's lazy. So all these things were up against me, and everyone told me this and told me it constantly. But it was actually what I needed, really, because it was the sort of thing that put fear into me. We talked about it earlier, but we'll talk about it as we go through this podcast. But fear of them being right, fear of them being actually right, that I wasn't good enough. And what I did to motivate myself was I got that brochure or pamphlet or whatever it is, booklet, and I pinned it up on my bedroom door. And that every morning when I got up, it was there looking at me, parachute regiment, all the things that you had to do, Trinasian, P Company, parachute jumps, blah, blah. It was the whole, I've still got it now, and that's what I put up. And it sparked fear in me every morning. I got up and looked at it, and was like, and all I heard was like, you'll never be able to do that. I kept looking at things, I wouldn't be able to climb that, I wouldn't be able to do that. I was scared of heights as well. So to jump out of a plane would be like, yeah, absolutely off it. I know.
Not a great start, is it?
No, I used to get scared going up a ladder. But it was all things I was thinking, I'm going to use this fear to scare the life out of me, to make me work for this, because I wanted to do it, but I was scared of doing it. Do you know what I mean?
So did you have like so the goal, and there's probably a couple of ways to explain this, but you had a goal, and that obviously helped you with that motivation, but at the same time you're also getting, you're getting backhanded about the fact that you probably might not make that goal. And your goal really, yes, was to make it, but ultimately second and maybe 50% of it was actually just to prove a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, I would say that. Even I used to work down the docks. So when I tell the boys at the docks what I was doing, because I told everyone, because I was so excited about it, they would literally laugh. They would laugh, mate, in my face and go, "You'll never be able to do that." Blah blah blah. Just do what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? And that what they were doing, working, and then going to the pub, having a drink, and just that's what it's about. And you'll never be able to get in there. And they just keep laughing, and then at least once a week they would go, "Oh, still going for it?" Like, as in like a piss take. You know what blokes are like? Blokes, love taking
Yeah.
the piss out of each other, which is, there was no, it wasn't bullying. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't bullying and anything along that. It was just a bit of banter, but it was always there.
Probably would be now.
Yeah, considered bullying now, but it's just banter. But it's what I needed every week.
Yeah.
Every time they did it, I was like, went home and went for a run, did an extra
Yeah.
run.
Like another
Extra
log
piece.
to the fire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was just, they just poured more fuel on there for me. That was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? I look back now, at the time, it was like gutting to listen to people saying it. But it was perfect. It's just what I needed. And even when I went into training, right, I still never thought I'd pass. All I thought was I would stay on there as long as I could, so that at least I could say, my main aim was I was telling the young lads about this the other week. My main aim was to be kicked off the course because I wasn't good enough, rather than quit. I just didn't want to quit. That was my main aim.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be quit and prove them right, the ones that were at home laughing at me. If I quit, then I would prove them wrong. Right. If I'd been kicked off, I'd have felt like, I just didn't make the grade, which is better in my mind. That was better than giving up,
Walking away.
Yeah, if I didn't make the grade, then that's in my mind. It was fair enough. You know what I mean? I tried.
Yeah. That's quite interesting, because I think you said there about the motivation. So the motivation, of course you did, because that's what we're talking about. The fuel to the fire, and the fact that you told everyone that you were going to do this, and this is what you wanted to do, and 9 times out of 10 people sort of went,
What happened there?
sorry, thought my volume went up. So you basically told everyone about it, so that sort of gave you that sort of like, well, I've told everyone now.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a little bit of that at the moment, but in a slightly different way. So back in your day, sounds quite funny. Back in my day, back in your day, there wasn't sort of like social media. So social media plays a big part now, and I actually think that there's two. Again, there's a positive and negative to social media. You can get some really good motivation, or you could get motivated through some social media. So some really good motivators out there, even some local guys that are local guys and girls that are heavily involved in social media locally, that aren't sort of big names, that are quite motivational. But I think there's also a twofold to that, and it's basically what you said there about telling people. So if you're going to do a challenge, you tell people about it. So you go, I'm going to run 100K for the month of, I don't know, January, February. You've now told everyone about that. So that gives you the motivation, and it's almost like that accountability where you say, well, that gives me the motivation to go, well, I've told everyone now, so I now need to go and do it. So I personally look at that in a slightly different way. I'm very much I'm just going to tell them I've done it, not by not doing it, but actually just going, this month, here's the proof, this is what I've done. But some people need to go, actually, if I tell people I'm going to do something, I now need to go and basically complete that. So it's almost making sure that you've almost motivated yourself by that fear again, that if I don't do it, who's going to come back and say, well, what did you do? The thing with social media is it's a lot easier to just switch it off and go, that's all right, they will forget about it, because there's 50,000 posts every single day. My post won't get remembered. I've told them I'm going to do 100K, but if I don't do it, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I think goals is a big motivator. So for me, I'm very much an outcome based person. So I see something and I look at how I'm going to get to the end, and I already know. So in my head, I plan how I'm going to celebrate that goal, if that makes sense. And I don't mean like throw a party, but I plan how I have this feeling in my head is how am I going to feel if I get this done? It's going to feel amazing, and that's what motivates me. So, for example, if it's a lift in the gym, if you're going through that sort of that ultimate sort of PRPB lift, before I go to it, I've never explained this to anyone before, but in my own head, before I go to it, I already think about how I'm going to celebrate if I hit it. And that gives me, so what I do is I revert back from the celebration, back again to the lift, back again to the point of me standing in front of that bar. And that gives me that motivation to go. You can almost see, like, you know, a shadow of yourself doing that celebration in front of the bar because you've just finished that lift or whatever it is. And that's how I get motivated, because I see myself in that position. But the only way I can get there is by completing that roadmap. So
Breaking up a little bit, Dan. I've lost you.
how I get a lot of my motivation, especially when it comes to training, and even in my. You back?
Yeah, got you, mate. Got you. Just breaking up a little bit then. You got me?
Back? Sorry, folks. Well,
Just going to pause it a minute, mate.
so I use a roadmap to motivate myself when it comes to success, and I do that in my professional life as well. So I will go and see a task, and will already get to an outcome. I know where I want to be with it, and so that means I can revert back from that outcome, and I build myself a roadmap as to how I'm going to get there. So that's how sort of I sort of explain my own motivation. But also when it comes to things like social media, where you can actually go out there and be accountable for yourself and say, well, if I'm going to do this, I now need, like you just said there with the powers, is that I'm going to do this. So now I need to make sure that I complete it, because otherwise I'm going to look like a right tit. So I suppose that's sort of, that's a sort of a form of motivation that certainly gets me going. We were talking about goals, and I think one of the things that comes with is, we get, like we said earlier, when it comes to fitness, you get that sort of extrinsic type motivation where, as a coach or a PT, you have to find that fire inside of someone.
Yeah.
And then ultimately what you have is, you have like you building that motivation, and then it almost starts to level up where they become actually more motivated, and then they start doing it themselves. What are your thoughts around attitude? So individuals' attitude when it comes to like motivation. So what I mean by that is, you've got to have that. We spoke about, people going out running, for
Yeah.
example, and going out there, and maybe, maybe you're not in the best shape at the minute, but having that motivation inside of you, having that attitude to realize something.
Well, have you got me there? Yeah. So going on that, I would say just, overlooking over time, training with all different kinds of people. I think where we said it's got to start from within. It's got to be something something that sparks from within you. And I talked about a story I heard. Like, I heard this story years ago, but a guy who was extremely overweight. All he did was drink, eat bad, blah blah blah, and he had a point where his own children came up to him and said, "Look, Dad," are crying, "Dad, we don't want you. We don't want you to die," you know. And that was a spark inside him that changed his whole life around. He started going out running, and just really, if you knew this guy now, you couldn't even put the two together. You wouldn't even put that story together. And when he told me, I was shocked. I didn't even know that was. I knew he'd lost some weight, but I didn't know he was that big and it was at that point. But that's what I mean by it. He still needed to do that himself. Obviously, that fear factor of letting his children down, and that
Mm.
fear of actually maybe it opened his eyes up and think, well, maybe I will die of of this, of heart disease or something like that, because I am abusing myself.
Yeah.
So I think you need to find some like some fear in. So I think fear is the ultimate, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
ultimate
Yeah.
motivation. Being scared of something, being scared of either dying of a heart disease or unhealthy lifestyle, or in my case was proving people right. I was so scared of it that I
Mm.
kept pushing myself further. I
Mm.
think like being fearless. I don't think that's a good way of living a life. I think you need fear inside you, but you need to be able to use it to your advantage. So I know like a lot of combat sport athletes are absolutely scared of being in like maybe the octagon or in the ring and being tired, because
Yeah.
that is the worst place to be. It's not like CrossFit or powerlifting or whatever. You can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
put the bar down. If you put your hands down in the ring, you're going to get beat up
Yeah.
badly. So they use that fear to push them to do multiple conditioning sessions to make sure that their fitness is at a top level. So that never
Mm.
happens. So it's down to skill and technique, and speed and whatever. As everything else, they just don't want to be that guy who
Yeah.
blows out in the ring. But yeah, fear. I think find something that scares
Huge.
you, and that's the same with the challenges as well and the goals. Find a challenge that scares you. It has to scare you,
Mm.
because that's what's going to make you push beyond what you are doing now. Because what you're
Yeah.
doing now isn't working. If you're looking for motivation now, whatever you're doing now isn't working. So you need to find something that's going to scare the hell out of you. I don't
Yeah.
mean the fact that you chop yourself off a cliff or jump out of a plane, or what, even like all I mean is it can be like on at the end of the month I'm going to run 5K or something like that, but not just run 5K. I'm going to give yourself a bit of a challenge. Make sure I'm going to do it in this time,
Mm.
or something like that. I'm just putting things out there, but it's got to put some fear into you. It's got to put the hairs on your back up.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of. I mean, my wife loves a quote and loves a quotation, but one of the biggest ones I see, and again, professional life and in my personal life, and even in like my training, is that um, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough in terms of a challenge. So, and you said it there. If it doesn't scare you, so and I think it's something along the lines of, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but if your dreams aren't big enough, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough, something like that. So you've got to have that fear, and it's going back to that fear of failure again.
Yeah,
And like, I don't want to fail. Okay, well, there's the way that you cannot fail. There is a way.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, is anyone can be anything, and again, I sound like fucking Joe Biden at the minute, but anyone can be anything, and you know, the great American dream, if you like. That you can be whatever you want to be, but you've got to just, it all starts with you, I guess, and then having that little bit of like, yeah, do you know what? I am going to prove that dickhead down the dockyard wrong, or I'm going to show everyone that on social media that I'm going to do this challenge, because I bet there could be people out there that don't believe me I'm going to complete it. So I'm going to hold that in my head, or in my case, I want to see what it feels like to have that that feeling of success, of holding that medal, or trophy, or whatever it might be. So I want to earn that extra pound, or whatever it might be, that when it comes to professional life, and that to get there I need to do these things. So that's a motivator. So yeah, there's fear is I think when we spoke earlier, fear is a big one. And I think if you can set something that, like you say, scares you, set yourself a challenge, especially in the fitness world. And I say that but in the professional world, I think if we go into the year of COVID of 2020 and now into 2021, there's been a lot of people out there that have sort of set up new businesses, and there's been a lot of people out there that have who have their own business, and I think they've been incredible in the fact that they've had lots of things scare them. Their motivation was, right, I need to do X, Y, and Z, otherwise I'm not going to have this position within a year. So they've maybe moved themselves into their own business. That's quite a scary thing to do, as having your own business and moving in that direction. There's never a right time to do something like that. It's just that it's having that sort of that fear of like, well, oh, I want to do it. That's what I want to do. But how is it going to be great? And it's never going to be perfect. But people that have their own businesses, people that run their own businesses at the moment, you've got to take your hats off to those people, because I think there's probably been a lot of fear for them guys over the last year about what could happen if they don't maybe pivot, adjust, change the way they're doing things. And you've got to do that every now and again. So whether professionally, personally, within your training, if you do a lot of training, you've got to sometimes change up what you're doing. And that will certainly, it might just help. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think you bang on. And yeah, it's amazing how the landscape has changed over the year and how everyone's adapted to it. And I think that, like you say, there is fear, the fear of losing your business, fear of losing your livelihood. And, you had to improvise, adapt, and as we say, overcome. And it is tough, but people are doing it. So good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah, exactly. And, going back to that thing about going out and going for a run, when you go down to the beach at the minute and you see these people, even people that are just going for a walk and maybe wouldn't have done it in the past, or going for a run or cycling, for me, it's an amazing thing to see, because not only is it like, it's pretty cold out there, it's winter, it's bleak, we're in this, obviously, this new lockdown, but there's still people out there doing it. And that is another form of motivation, is seeing other people do something. That's a good motivator to say, bloody hell, again, social media plays a massive part in that, because you see a lot more than you would normally do. Okay, well, if that person's going out and doing a bit of training in the garden, I've got a kettlebell, I'm just going to go and do some of that as well. There's no reason why I can't do what they're doing. So so that sort of motivates you to go, yes, I'm going to go and do that.
Yeah,
So
I just want to touch on that. It's good what you're saying. So social media, and I'm always like this as well. I don't like putting too much up there, but and I know people always feel like, oh, I don't want to put what I did up there. That's fine. I mean, but it is good in a way that you might inspire someone to do something. If someone, like, what I would say is, if someone doesn't want to see you doing your run or whatever, and that's what you're worried about, they can just scan past that. And if you are one of those people, just scan past it. Don't worry about it. If they want to put up every workout they do up there, let them do it. Because what they might do is inspire someone who's sat on the sofa thinking, oh, I can't do that. And then you see someone else doing it, and it just gives them that little spark, like we say, that motivation to think, well, so-and-so's doing that.
Yeah.
Why can't I do
Absolutely.
that? And we're always, and I know we all do this. I know we all do this. And if you say you don't, you're like, you worry about putting stuff up because you're going to worry that people are going to judge you and think, oh, that was a slow run. Why are they running at that pace?
Yeah.
Oh, is that all they're lifting? Do you know what I mean?
They didn't get below parallel.
Oh,
Shut up, you penis.
Just, live and let live. Let social media. I think the best thing you can do, let social media, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't take it seriously. It's not serious. Facebook is fake book. You know what I mean? It's mostly fake. It's mostly fake, and accept it as fake and just laugh at it and enjoy it. The same with Instagram. People never put up their bad lifts. They always put up the good ones. And so what? Who cares? Just enjoy it and let that inspire as well. So if you're putting stuff up there and you're worried about other people judging it, let go of that chain. Take that weight off your back. just put it up there. You might inspire someone.
One
You know what I
person,
mean?
exactly.
One person. If you inspire one person, if we all inspire one person, you can imagine the effect, and we can
Yeah.
get people healthy again.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. No, that's a great one, mate. Good. I think that's a great way to end, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think that hits the nail on the head. You know, just go and inspire one person if you can.
Yeah.
You know,
If that's your motivation, that could be your
yeah,
motivation for this week.
yeah,
Try to inspire someone, to help someone else. If you were one of those people that struggled to do fitness and you're doing it, put it up there. Try to help someone get off the sofa.
yeah,
It's quite hard, like no doubt about it. This time of the year, you know, the mornings are dark, the evenings are dark. You know, everything's against you. Lockdown. You know what I mean? You're at home trying to homeschool your kids.
mm,
Everything's against you, but this is the time to push through and really try to do even just a little bit. Just get something. Do some exercise. You're gonna feel the benefits as soon as you do it. Honestly,
definitely.
I can't emphasize that enough. This is the time to do it. When the summer
Mm,
comes, you'll already be in shape. You'll be laughing. Do you know what I
summer's
mean?
coming. I
Summer's
think
coming.
that's we've obviously touched on it in series 1 around the effects of the good effects that an exercise can bring, just so that feel good factor. Yeah, and it's I personally think this is, I see it quite a lot, is that when people do a workout, they're really, because they're in that such good mood feeling, they're like, I'm going to post about this, I'm going to tell everyone what I've done. And I think that is, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just get it
No,
out there. I've done it in the past where I've finished a workout and I'm like, bloody hell, that was brilliant. Like, I've
yeah,
got groups that I'm in, I go, hey boys, I've just done this workout, you have a give it a go. And that's just because I feel good that I've done it.
yeah,
I don't care if I've done it quick, I don't care if it wasn't the heaviest of lifts or whatever. The fact is that I feel good for doing it. um, and it doesn't really matter how much you do, it's the fact that nice feeling after, of doing it. And usually that's because you sort of look at some workouts, or you look at you look down the road and it's cold, and again I go back to that outcome base and go, well, once I've done that, all these things are against me. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy, it's winter, I'm in lockdown, I'm sat at home, and then you come back and go, oh bloody hell, I had all those things against me, I've just done that,
you still win. Yeah,
still win.
and even if it
So
wins quick, it doesn't matter. You win.
don't know. No,
You know what I
exactly,
mean?
to get out there and do it.
Yeah, and do
So
so. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. I think that's a great way to
yeah.
end.
Enjoyed
So,
that one, mate. That was good. Hope
so
you guys
guys,
enjoyed it.
yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed our little motivation podcast. We are going to be back again within a week's time. So we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, and some of the findings that we found in lockdown and nutrition, because I think there's quite that's probably a big one, actually, because I
Yeah.
know certainly in my professional life is that people that are working from home now tend to be working quite close to fridges. So I think it'll be an interesting
Yeah.
conversation next.
What we also like to chuck in on that is sleep, because I think they
Okay.
come quite close to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
So let's chuck that in
yeah,
there as well.
yeah. Great.
Okay.
Um,
Really give them two things to work on, to
yeah,
listen and absorb next week.
yeah. That was a great shout. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. And guys, if there's anything that you want us to sort of answer when it comes to anything that we're talking about, please just sort of DM us if you like. Slip into the DMs on Instagram, which is the Legion Report Podcast, and we'd be really happy to try and use some of our experiences, whether it's from a coaching world and our sort of PT coaching backgrounds, or just our own experiences of doing things. So within a fitness arena, don't ask me for other experience because that's not great, but yeah, so if you've got anything that you want us to talk about then, or answer, please give us a shout. But for now, it's goodbye from me,
And stay strong for me.
and we'll see you in a week's time.
See you later, guys.